Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Feels really good. It's a load off my shoulders. Just really happy of how me and my family went through the process. And with this decision, I have no regrets. So feeling good.
Well, those are the words of newest USC basketball signee, or one of them, P.J. Dozier, currently standing 6'7", could reach 6'9", already has attained a high status among basketball followers across the country, and he made Frank Martin one happy dude today. South Carolina basketball got a lot better with the commitment and signing of P.J. Dozier today over at Spring Valley High School. You'll hear our exclusive one-on-one interview with P.J. coming up in just a few minutes as no surprise to anybody, Sports Talk, the only Sports Talk show in South Carolina to cover the P.J. Dozier announcement today at Spring Valley.
Yeah, I mean, it's in your backyard, so
it's no excuse. Had nothing to do with it. I would have driven 5, maybe 10 miles.
Okay. To
cover that thing. So
yeah.
A good day for South Carolina as they get P.J. Dozier, one of their big targets. They also are on the verge of getting a wide receiver out of Georgia who had been committed to the Georgia Bulldogs. We'll do recruiting coming up in this half hour of the program as well and tell you about that as far as some other things happening in basketball. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes with you here on a Wednesday night from our downtown Columbia studios. Hope you've had a great day, and we thank you for joining us here on Sports Talk. Coming up tonight, you'll hear from P.J. Dozier. We've got the M&M boys at the bottom of the hour, Corey Miller, Will Merritt. They're always full of good stuff, and we'll hear from them. Dabo Sweeney comments after the Tigers practice this afternoon. We'll have that for you, as well as something from the Gamecocks once they come off the practice field, and Georgia Tech coach Paul Johnson talking about getting ready for the Tigers. So we are loaded up. We are full of it tonight, K-Mac.
Full of it, indeed. Yeah, you're right. That was huge for the Gamecocks. That's an understatement. The last time they had a commitment like that, I mean, do you have to go back to B.J. Mackey? Would you count Roe Howell? I mean, those guys, you knew where they were going. I mean, this was somebody that I don't think anybody knew until the moment he put that South Carolina hat on if he was going to bounce. And it's a huge get for Frank Martin, really one that I said he had to have. I mean, if you can't get a guy that's literally in your backyard, right behind your school, whose dad played there, your uncle played there, your sister plays there now, your other sister played there. That's, even with all those big guys getting there, if you can't convince that kid to stay home, it's going to be really hard. But they did it. They did what they had to do. And they have a legitimate, blue chipper, a McDonald's All-American type on their roster coming in for the first time in a while.
I'm not so certain that the perception of the program he makes now outweighs his talent. I just think his name on the dotted line.
Well, this is like signing a Lattimore in your football program, a C.J. Spiller. Great players attract other great players. And I don't know about Tevin Mack tomorrow for South Carolina, but they're thinking maybe Seventh Woods next year would like the idea of playing along with P.J. Dozier. P.J. coming up in a moment. Well, first of all, congratulations on your decision. How does it feel to have it? All right, we're back on Sports Talk. Good to have you with us here on a very busy Wednesday night. Folks over at Spring Valley High School, a lot to be proud of. They did a great job with their setup today. Things did not get crazy. The students were well behaved as they sat up in the stands, and the media was well taken care of as far as the organization. And Perry Dozier and PJ Dozier and the Dozier family deserve a lot of credit because they stuck to their guns. They did not reveal the choice until PJ reached into a bag or whatever he had underneath the table and put on his South Carolina cap. He didn't go through the hat thing with all 5 hats out on the table. He gave a brief opening comment, thanked everybody, and then quickly said, "I'm going to go too." And then he paused and he reached down and put the cap on his head. And most of the folks there erupted in ovation and were very pleased for him. And then he sat there and took questions from the media. Then he did one-on-ones, and then everybody went home, and they went about their business of going back and doing schoolwork and then getting ready for practice later on this afternoon. So it was handled. I'm not a big fan of these things, these news conferences and stuff, because they do get out of hand a lot of times, but this was very nicely done. We look forward to Tevin Mack's news conference tomorrow over at Dreher. It's nice to have some drama surrounding basketball recruiting in our state, but it's not often that we get 2 primo players, especially right here in Columbia, together in the same class who generate national interest.
It's been a long cycle. Again, you probably have to go back to the Jermaine O'Neal era where you had that kind of player. And, Jermaine O'Neal and Kevin Garnett were really close, but basketball in terms of huge stars like that, we had a few guys. What I guess Ray Felton down in Latta was a big time player.
Then you go back to the Columbia time,
way back,
era. Your Barry Mannings, your Joe
X-Man.
Red, JoJo English, Xavier McDaniel, and on. I mean, Columbia produced a large number of players.
Some great coaches around the city at that time.
Imagine if Garnett and O'Neal had news conferences to announce they were going to college instead of going directly to the pros. The kind of drama that would have been. Now, Tevin Mack tomorrow at noon at Dreher High School, and his coach tells us that as of this afternoon, nothing had changed and no decision had been made. This was about 3 o'clock or so. So they're still working on it. As far as we know, all 5 schools are still in it, including Clemson and South Carolina. Now, Clemson got bad news first thing this morning. The big man in Charlotte out of Africa, Ebuka Izundu, signed with Charlotte. His coach just felt like it was a better fit. He was more comfortable at Charlotte. So the Tigers do not get him. They did sign Ty Hudson this afternoon. He was scheduled to sign at around 3 o'clock. And Legend Robertson waiting on word from his coach about an actual signing or a signing time or date for him. Chris Silva should have signed with South Carolina. He was scheduled to do so this afternoon, according to his coach. And, of course, now the Gamecocks are waiting on Tevin Mack, and they should have the signed papers in from P.J. Dozier, who was going to sign his letter of intent soon after his press conference today. And then after the press conference, I had a chance to talk to him about what he had just done and got his reaction, his feelings about being officially committed to the South Carolina basketball program.
Just feeling very blessed to be given this opportunity. This is something that all these young kids dream of. It's definitely something I dreamt of when I was little. It's a weight lifted off my shoulders going forward. Just focus on this basketball season.
As you got down to making your decision a couple of days ago, was it a clear-cut thing as you went through the process, or was there a lot of flipping back and forth, one day this school, one day that school?
Right. I can tell you it was a lot of flipping back and forth. Starting the official visits, I felt like every visit that I went on, that school I just visited was in first place. Just because the great job that each coach and staff and each program did to sell their program to me, I feel like either way I could have went through these 5 schools. There really wasn't a bad decision, but at the end of the day I tried to make the best decision for me and my family.
All right, we all know the family ties running through your sister who plays for the USC women, but besides that, basketball only, looking at the Gamecocks, what sold you on what Frank Martin is trying to do?
Just his track record and his history. He came from a background of winning wherever he was, from high school all the way to college. Seeing the development that they put into their players and the time and the effort definitely was something that stuck out to me, and that really sold me.
Did you talk with any former Gamecock basketball players who are high school stars in Columbia about their experience as you went through the process to kind of feel them out?
I kind of tried just to see, I like to get everyone's opinions. But when it all came down to it, they just wanted me to do what was best for me. And that was definitely an eye opener. And I saw that, everyone really had it their best, interest in me. So that was good to see.
So when you get to South Carolina after your senior year here, how do you see yourself fitting in? How will your talents blend in with what they're doing?
I'm a winner. Everybody loves to win. So just trying to carry that motivation and that support onto the team. And I feel like the players that they have there and the players that they'll have when I get there, we're all gelled, very well together, and be able to reach our goals that we're trying to reach.
Do you feel like your commitment will open up some eyes of other highly rated players around the country who might now take another look at South Carolina?
Yes, sir. I really hope it does. I didn't really think about that too much, trying to make my decision. I was just trying to make the best decision for me. But, when it all comes down to it, I really do hope that South Carolina can get, I guess they would say higher caliber of players, you know, in the next few years because of this one.
All right. And have you thought about the future? You know, with a player coming out of high school like you, one and done there, how many years will he be in college?
Right.
Have you given that much thought?
No, sir. I think, you know, if I take care of the business on and off the court, everything else will fall into place. You know, that's pretty much what has happened so far. So, you know, I feel like all that will take care of itself.
All right, PJ Dozier, his words after committing to South Carolina this afternoon over at Spring Valley High School. And I have confirmed now through his coach that Legend Robertine has signed with Clemson. So the Tigers do get that 7-footer. They do get the point guard. They're hopeful of getting Tevin Mack as South Carolina, as is VCU, Georgia, and UConn. Don't really have a feel on that one.
Well, a lot of the scuttlebutt seems to be VCU's strong. I know some people that we know that cover the Georgia beat said the Bulldogs people seem to think that VCU is pretty strong with them, but who knows? I mean, I'm not predicting anything. Right. I'm just saying that's what scuttlebutt is. A lot of scuttlebutt with Dozier was Louisville. So
some of the scuttlebutt is wherever Dozier goes, Mac doesn't want to go. Now, I've heard that one.
Well, that would be stupid because they don't play the same position.
Exactly. Yeah. And South Carolina was very upfront with Tevin Mack that PJ Dozier was their #1 priority. Now, remember, the Gamecocks technically have just one scholarship, right? So, but they're going to take Tevin Mack if he wants to come there.
Oh, yeah.
It always works out. You don't worry about the numbers. But they did make it clear to him that, hey, you know, this is our – they didn't offer him until after some other schools.
And you got to think, and people may think I'm nuts, but you got to think that if him playing his natural position this year, Sindarius Thornwell blows it up, he may think about, if I'm anywhere close to the lottery, I may come out.
Yep, and he's right now on some early projections.
21.
Thornwell's a first-round pick.
Yeah.
So that's insane to think that South Carolina might have a guy that comes out after a sophomore season.
The big concern about South Carolina's basketball team as their season opens up on Friday is depth.
Yeah.
Losing those 2 freshmen who would have played this year to season-ending injuries has left them thin in their front court. And so that's something they're going to have to be dealing with. But Brad Brownell said the same thing about his team, a little thin in the front court. All right, we'll give you some more recruiting after this break. All right, let's give you the rest of the recruiting report tonight. We'll have the M&M boys coming up to join us here in just a little bit. Our recruiting report brought to you by South Carolina's Electric Cooperatives, sponsors of the 2014 Touchstone Energy Bowl. Hope to see you in Myrtle Beach December 13th. Don't forget, Mr. Football will be announced at halftime of that game. So if you want to watch that happen, get on down to Myrtle Beach for that football game. Myrtle Beach, but that's a good one. All right, other recruiting now besides the news on P.J. Dozier and Tevin Mack that we've told you, and Chris Silva signed with USC today, 6'9", 6'1", Ty Hudson with Clemson, 7-footer legend Roberton signed with Clemson, and I mentioned that the Tigers missed on 6'9", Ebuka Ezundu. He signed with Charlotte. Charleston Southern signed 6'7", Antoine Maxwell, Savannah, 6'1", Armel Potter of Marietta, Georgia. Wofford signed 6'4", Fletcher McGee, Orlando, 6'10", Matthew Pegram of Wando, 6'5", Trevor Stump, Plainfield, Illinois. Furman signed 6'4", Andrew Brown of Travelers Rest, and 6'8", Jalen Williams of Wade Hampton. Now to football. Wide receiver Christian Owens is 6'5", 210, Griffin, Georgia. Today, he ended his commitment to Georgia dating back to 2013. He's now likely to land at USC. In announcing his decommitment, he originally stated he was committing to USC, but he soon backed off of that. He considers the Gamecocks as his favorites right now. He'll make an official visit for the South Alabama game. He said to us, "I'm not officially committed to South Carolina at the moment, but they are at the top. I respect UGA. They were great to me. We just had a couple of situations where we couldn't see eye to eye on some things, and I had to do what's best for my family and best for me." He also had offers from Clemson, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, North Carolina, Vandy, and Tennessee, along with USC, before he committed to Georgia. Then after deciding to decommit, he quietly reached out to other schools, and the Gamecocks responded with strong interest. And he said the fact he hasn't gone public with a commitment to USC right now is not an issue. He said that he and Steve Spurrier Jr. are on the same page about that. He's never been to South Carolina, so he wants to visit first. He said he'll most likely commit on his visit. Orangeburg-Wilkinson Shrine Bowl defensive end Albert Huggins' season is over, so now he's focusing on recruiting. He told Ryan Bartow of 24/7 Sports last night he'll take an official visit to Georgia this weekend. That's his first official. He also said he will not visit Florida and is doubtful that he'll visit North Carolina. Clemson is the other school he's been strongly considering. Linebacker Monte Cabin, Smith Station, Alabama, talked with USC recruiter Kirk Botkin last night, and he said Botkin was just checking on him. He wants to take an official visit to USC for the South Alabama game. He's just now getting all of his academic paperwork together to be able to make that visit. He remains committed to Louisville and will visit there in January. He said USC and Louisville are the only schools he's considering at this time. And punter Sean Kelly of Orlando still waiting to hear back from USC admissions before deciding on his next move. He goes to Tallahassee Junior College. USC wants him to walk on. He's also looking at Florida State, but he's waiting to hear back from USC admissions to see if he gets in. We're back with the M&M boys in a moment. Wednesday night edition of Sports Talk from downtown Columbia Main Street. Sports Talk, your sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Your final word in sports every night. We're glad you're with us here on Sports Talk. Make it a habit, just like it's habit forming for us to have on Wednesday night the M&M boys. Will Merritt from Clemson fame and former Gamecock star Corey Miller. They are with us now to talk about their teams and to debate the college football issues of the day. All right, first of all, Corey, let me ask you. I'm going to cross lines here and talk about Georgia Tech and Clemson for a moment with you. You being a former linebacker, we hear so much whenever Clemson gets ready to play Georgia Tech about the chop block and the cut blocks and things of that nature that the defensive players have to deal with. Is this any different than if you were playing a spread offense or an I formation offense in terms of the blocking style? Is it greatly that different?
It really is, Phil. They try to get you on the ground. They want you to fight those cut blocks and get at your ankles and make defensive players not play football with their eyes. And it's imperative that when you're playing an offense like Georgia Tech, that you play really good with your eyes. And a lot of times defensive players have the tendency to look down because these guys are on the ground and at your ankles and knees. And therefore, when you do that, you lose track of where the ball is and where the play is going. And so, if anything, it's been very frustrating. And of course, it makes you play assignment football as well. I mean, because one mistake and this team is going 60, 70 yards for a touchdown. Yeah, it is different. You don't see as much of that when you're playing a spread team. Now, I will say, if you're a cornerback against a spread team where they run these bubble screens and these quick tip screens on the outside, you see wide receivers cutting these cornerbacks and safeties down the field. So they have to defend it more versus the spread of more so than an interior guy playing against the Georgia Tech. So, there is in the spread offense, but it's more so in the secondary, that back end guy versus the Georgia Tech, that triple double wing and that triple option. You're going to have to try to play those cut blocks on the inside. It's very frustrating as a defensive player.
Now, Will, as a former offensive lineman, when you were at Clemson, was cut blocking at all a part of the style of blocking that you guys used in your offense? And also, what is your opinion of the way Georgia Tech uses that style of blocking?
Yeah, well, we didn't cut block a whole lot. I mean, we did a little bit. I played under Rich Rodriguez, in which he would do a quick pass every now and then where you were supposed to basically show the hands like you were going to pass block and then snap to get the guys down. But what Corey said was really accurate. Phil, it's really not so much of trying to get you on the ground for a long time. It's just to make you down for a minute. They're such a quick hit offense and a quick pitch offense. They really just try to get the ball to the A and B and C gaps so quickly. I don't think they're trying to cut you and to keep you on the ground. They're just trying to take your eyes off of who has the ball and then kind of manipulate that in that sector of the offense. So, it is different. It's completely different. You don't see this throughout the year, but no, we didn't do a whole lot of cut blocking. There were situations where they would say, all right, well, the quarterback needs to be able to read, to the left side of the field, therefore cut that defensive end, or this front side guard needs to cut a guy when he pulls out to the line of scrimmage. But for the most part, now we didn't do a whole lot of cut blocking.
From your days in the broadcast booth watching Clemson play Georgia Tech, a lot of people feel like Georgia Tech chose that very narrow line of being dirty with its cut blocking. Did you feel that way when you watched them from the booth?
Yeah, the only way you can make it, completely dirty is to make it illegal, and it's not illegal. I mean, it's a legal block. Do I like it? Do I like the style? No, I don't. I'm not a big fan of the style of blocking, but is it completely legal? Absolutely. The one thing I don't like about it, Phil, I don't like the fact that they get away with a lot of chop block where guys are really fighting and clawing with guys up top, and then they get carved down low. I think that's a huge disadvantage to a defensive lineman because it's completely absurd to think that a D lineman can hold somebody up top and get hit at the bottom. I think they get away with a lot of that stuff. But do I think it's dirty? No, I would say it's not dirty. Do I think it should be at some point in time be looked at? Is it a way that they should be able to, line up and play ball? They've got to shy away from that eventually.
Corey, they've made a lot of rules now against defensive players to protect the offensive players. But it seems to me in this particular style of offense, you get a lot of blindside blocks on defensive players, maybe more so than in any other offense a defensive player would face. Is that fair to say? And if so, should they not take a closer look at that and figure out a way to protect defensive players from these blindside blocks and these low blocks at the knees?
Well, you don't like it, Phil. It's tough. It puts the defensive player in a defenseless position. There's no doubt about it. If you'd say, a guy, they run a tall sweep and you coming from the backside and a wide receiver's down the field peels back, you chase and, you never see this guy and he's got an ear hole shot at you. And a lot of guys get knocked out doing those shots. So, yeah, from that standpoint of trying to protect guys and not have all these severe injuries, yes. But at the same time, I'm old school. As part of the game, I was always taught to keep your head on the swivel. And when you're chasing, you better, again, I'm talking about, and we don't hear this a lot in football, but eyes are very important. You got to keep your head on the swivel, and you got to see where potential crackback blocks and things like that are coming from to protect yourself. Unfortunately, I think guys are just not taught. I think the fundamentals of the game has been lost, and we've gotten away from a lot of this stuff. But yeah, from a standpoint, is it unfair? Yes, because, you're a defenseman, and then they give the offense, 15 yards in their favor if, you go up and hit a wide receiver who's up in the air and you come in there and take a shot where he can't protect himself. So they call a flag on the defense. So from that standpoint, I think they should make it fair. If a guy is running down the field and the receiver peels back, he should be able to take an ear hole shot at the defender. Mm-hmm. So, if you want to play the fair game, yes, but at the same time, I think if you teach guys the pure fundamentals of football and about playing with your eyes and playing with great fundamentals, then these guys will learn to protect themselves.
On that note, I wanted to get both your opinions. We can start with Will, since it happened most recently in the Clemson game, but both USC and Clemson have been dinged with this penalty this season and previous seasons. The targeting call, controversial one with Robert Smith against Wake Forest. It's going to cost him the first half of the Georgia Tech game. It's all about the safety. Will, what did you think about that call? And what do you think about how this penalty is being enforced here over the past couple of seasons?
Well, I think it's been stated enough that it was a blown call. The head of the officiating crew has said that, it was not the correct call. But, I think it's a split-second decision call that they make on the field. But the problem I have is the fact that if you thought that Robert Smith was actually going, for the helmet and trying to go face-to-face and really, cause a concussion, then you weren't watching the same game. He wasn't doing that. He was making a good football play. And I think a lot of these guys are put into a really no-win situation where they're trying to manipulate their body at the end of the play and, because they don't want to get flagged. They don't want to, have a 15-yard penalty, tacked on to the end of the play. I find it a little bit of a kind of a catch-22 because they're told to go headhunters, violate the wide receiver at the end of the play, destroy the ref. They're taught all these things about the aggression of their position, but yet when they do that, then they're flagged, they're penalized. Guys, at some point in time, we got to say, all right, what are we doing here? Mm-hmm. Do I think that there's going to be a day and time that we go back the other direction and say, yes, this defensive player has every right to do what he's told to do? Yes, I do. Do I think that from a concussion standpoint that we're to keep the pendulum swinging in the right direction? Yeah, I think we are. But I think we're in kind of this weird purgatory right now of where we're trying to figure out the rules and figure out exactly what it looks like for a DB, a free safety, and these strong side safeties to be able to come up and be a part of the running game.
Okay, Will, hang on a second. You too, Corey. Hit a break. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. It's the M&M boys with us here on Sports Talk. Corey Miller and Will Merritts. And I want to just shift the gears here, guys, and get to the Gamecocks before we run out of time with you. South Carolina getting ready to take on Florida this weekend in the Swamp. Corey, the Gamecocks have had a couple of weeks to get ready for this. They're trying to kind of wipe the slate clean, start anew coming off this this open week and see if they can find enough defense to help the offense, figuring the offense will do its job and score some points. Though Florida's defense, Corey, is very, very good.
Very talented defense, and that's going to be the big thing. Can the offense, continue to hold the ball, sustain drives, and keep, South Carolina's defense off the field? My concern, Phil, is basically, it is a defense. It's a running game. This Florida team rushed over 400 yards against Georgia to win that football game, the biggest cocktail party. They don't call it that anymore, but I was very impressed with what they've done. Treon Harris, the freshman quarterback, is kind of hitting stride, playing well, and that's been really the bad thing for South Carolina, trying to defend a dual-threat quarterback. Look, what Josh Dobbs came in from Tennessee, and what the numbers he put up throwing and running the football gave them tons of problems. And, my question is, how are they going to defend that? Being on the road, a hostile crowd down in the Swamp, and can they stop the run? The two-headed monster with Kelvin Taylor and Matt Jones. These guys are really good running backs, a good offensive line. They're not going to worry about the pass. They got to worry about stopping the run. So I think because Florida runs so much, the game might be close. I think South Carolina can hang in there, but it's an issue. It really is. They're not big enough up front. Your linebackers are small. You're going to get some traps and things like that for this Florida offense. And I don't know. It's going to be a tough game for South Carolina to win at the end of the day.
Is it a combination, Corey? You see the guys unable to disengage from blocks, or is guys moving out of position?
I think it's out of position. When I did chalk earlier, some things. One, I was.
Okay, hang on, Corey. We've lost you there. We'll try to get that cleaned up and get right back to you. Will, Clemson gets Deshaun Watson back at quarterback. Do you expect them to get back to their up-tempo, speeded up offensive game and try to get 75, 80, 90 plays if their defense is able to get Georgia Tech's offense off the field?
Yeah, I sure hope so. I would love to see that. Obviously you're talking about a Georgia Tech offense that, converts almost 60% of their third down conversions, and a defense that only allows about 23% conversion ratio. So, I would love to see them, go fast-paced. If they don't, I think we're going to be in trouble. I think that Georgia Tech's kind of poised and ready to go to be able to do some things offensively that Clemson has not seen in a long time. But, Deshaun Watson coming back is such an interesting storyline because you really don't have a clue what he's going to do. You hope that he comes back in full form and what he was doing before he left. But, Phil, you've seen a lot of guys come back from injury. You never know if they're the same player when they come back, and hopefully he will be.
Got to protect that hand. And also, Cole Stout, what a warrior he was the other night, Will, because
he really was.
A really bad shoulder. How much can you count on him in an emergency now?
Well, I think you count him a lot because, everybody thinks that, Cole is just, not a great quarterback, but nobody really knows. This kid has been playing with so many injuries. He's kind of been going out there and just kind of been a wounded warrior, so to speak, and called a duty. And he's been doing a great job. And I know that Coach Morris cannot open the offense up with Cole the way he does with Sean, but with Watson coming back, I think that he's going to be able to open it up a little bit. And if need be, I think that Stout's there and he's ready to.
Did we lose Corey? Did we lose Will? Okay. Yeah. I got cell phones dropping left and right. All right, real quick, Corey, Gamecocks in Florida. You holding out any hope for the Gamecock upset here? I take that as a no.
Well, no, I got to take Florida on the road. The way they can run the ball, their defense field. I'm an alumnus, and I want South Carolina to win. I hope that I'm wrong next week. But when you look at it on film and on paper, I just don't see South Carolina winning this game. I think they have a lot of offense, but I just don't have any faith in this defense. As Pro was saying, they can't get off blocks, so they're forced to commit so many bodies to the run, and therefore they're going to be susceptible to the pass. And so that's what I'm worried about in this football game.
All right. Hey, Will, we got about 20 seconds. Does Clemson go into Atlanta and win for the first time since 2003?
You know, I do. I think they do. I think they go down there and they win. I think that the biggest part of this offense has been the reliability of being able to trust their quarterback, and I think they're going to be able to do that.
Okay, Will, thank you very much. We got to hit a break here. Will, Merritt, Corey Miller, M&M Boys here on Sports Talk. Thanks again to the M&M Boys for joining us here on Sports Talk tonight. Always appreciate their insights and opinions. Now let's give you the high school football report tonight, brought to you by South Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance. We update statewide stats compiled by the high school sports report. And the leading rusher in the state with 2,440 yards is Stevie Williams from Berea. He also has scored 26 touchdowns. Desmond Anderson of Broome with 2,154 yards and 26 touchdowns. Alex North of Faith Christian, 2,101 yards and 20 touchdowns. And Will Tootin of Patrick Henry with 2,017 rushing yards and 23 touchdowns. State's leading passer is Cole Martin from Nation Ford. He's right on 4,000 yards for the season with 42 touchdowns. 348 of 545, 545 passes. He's worked that arm. Carson Spires of Greenville has 3,745 yards, 39 touchdowns. Kelly Bryant of Wren, 3,339 yard and 37 touchdowns. Austin Scott of Spartanburg, 3,167 yards and 37 touchdowns. The leading receiver by yards is Christian Bruce of Wilson, with 1,475 yards on 72 catches and 16 touchdowns. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside of Dorman, 1,448 yards on 83 catches and 18 touchdowns. And Hank Tuipulotu from Nation Ford. Somebody's got to be catching all those passes. He has 1,332 yards on 105 catches and 7 17 touchdowns. There you go with some of the key stats and key stat leaders in the state. Our high school football report tonight here on Sports Talk, and it's brought to you by South Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance.
I was thinking this. It's interesting how football and the mechanics of playing the quarterback position. You almost think that Deshaun Watson is almost the most dangerous play for him right now is the handoff. At least when you're passing the ball, you know where your fingers fit, where you like to grip it, and you throw the football. But on handoffs, you never know what the running back sees just a crease and wants to adjust, and you have to hand it off to him, and your hand gets caught in there. And it'd be interesting to see how he hands the ball off early against Georgia Tech, whether he tries to use his left hand a little bit more than his right.
All right, Dabo Sweeney said that Sharon Peak is ready to go on Saturday. He is further along than center Jay Guillermo. They were hoping that Guillermo would be ready. He may not be ready to go. Also, he said Tyshawn Dye could see more action carrying the football Saturday against Georgia Tech. Yeah, that's going to be I don't know. Clemson got its running game going the last two times out with Wayne Gallman going over 100 yards each of those times. But I don't know. If you're Clemson, you really want to try and speed Georgia Tech up and see if you can get them playing at your breakneck tempo if you can.
Yes, because I think they can turn it over because that's a high-risk offense. They don't throw it forward, but all that handing off in the backfield, you can leave it on the ground.
All right, top of the hour break. We'll be back.
Live from Korea, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a very busy Wednesday night. Lots to get to in this hour. We can take some calls. 800-956-7266 is the number. Let's go to Bill in Anderson next up here on Sports Talk. Hi, Bill. Welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I just wanted to let everybody know that we have an outstanding speaker coming to the Anderson Touchdown Club Friday. Well-known personality that everybody look forward to. Upper part of the state coming up into this area.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. My calendar tells me I'm supposed to be in Anderson on Friday.
Yeah, and we start at 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock.
Now, you said well-known, not well-liked, right? You said well-known. I just want to make sure you didn't say well-liked.
No, well-known, knowledgeable, very, very knowledgeable person that we look forward to having every year up here, and it's just a tremendous outing when we have you up here, and it's pretty close to your birthday, I think.
It is. In all my years of coming up there, Bill, I've only been late once, to the point where I missed it.
Well, I didn't mean to get into that. I apologize for
That's quite
that.
right.
But when somebody misses the complete program for 1 hour, and we chased that back, we tried to figure out why that happened, and I think I know, but I can't tell you about it on the radio. I did find out why you were late.
Is that when you got pulled over and
which time?
Pelzer?
Which time?
West Pelzer?
I'm not sure it was a pullover. I think he pulled over and stopped. I'm not sure about that.
Corn gets the police escort there every year, but it's in front of the car.
Coach Bill, thank you. Thank you very much.
Phil, we're having a tremendous year again, though. We've averaged about 120 each meeting. We've got about 140 members in the club, and we would welcome everybody that's listening to this in the upper part of the state would like to hear Phil Kornblue on Friday to come to the Touchdown Club at the Anderson Library. We start our food line about 11:30, and you can come and visit and get up to date on all the recruiting and a lot of other things that we sure will be asking questions about.
Well, I look forward to it as always, and of course, you and the other two wise men forming the three wise men who sit at the table. I always look forward to seeing you guys. And I'll be there on time.
Coach Frazier is at the top. He's at the top right now, and he's doing a great job and with his jokes. And I think the best joke he had all year is when he forgot the punchline. That brought the whole house down. But
Well,
he's doing a tremendous job.
Yeah.
And George Duckworth, all of them, they still doing a great job. We appreciate you coming, and we invite everybody to come and hear you on Friday.
Well, thank you very much. Look forward to being there. That is a great group, and, touchdown clubs across the state. Love them all, and hope we can keep them going. A lot of them have faded.
That's one of the oldest, isn't it, in Anderson?
Been around a while, and they have a good season of speakers between ADs, and you can't get the coaches from the big schools like you used to, but they get the other coaches around the state, and they do a heck of a job. And I appreciate them thinking of us every so often. We'll be back.
Treon remind you of anybody that you've coached and kind of that run, dual threat kind of guy who's learning on the fly?
Yeah, 14 ran around and did some things.
All right.
Thank you, Jay.
Does Treon remind you of anybody that you've coached and I believe so. Fantastic.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk. Good to have you with us. If you're listening to us over the airwaves, perhaps you're watching us on our webcam feed at sportstalksc.com down at the bottom of the page. I'm Corn. That's Professor Tom Hayes and K-Mac. It's funny. I was looking at the Screen Pro the other day, and both in this location and our previous location, it just seems like K-Mac is always more centered in the picture than you and I are.
The camera's pointed right at you.
You got the see. I've got all this metal in front of me from our microphone arms here, and you get the nice clear. Everybody gets a clear picture of K-Mac.
That's just I guess the camera gravitates to the person it likes.
I prefer
more.
to add a little mystery. So,
of course, K-Mac is the one that directed the setting up of the camera.
So that's how we're going to do this.
By the way, I did want to point out, being the NBA fan that I am, congratulations to Kobe Bryant, NBA record last night.
I was wondering how long this was going to take. I was waiting for a text message last night.
No. You know what it was, bro? He set a new NBA record last night, which is redundant. I hate to say new record.
Missed shots.
Yeah. The most missed shots in NBA, over 13,800.
Why were they making
480?
That's breaking news last night.
You know, what shocks me is this. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Whenever there's something negative that Kobe does, it almost like they want to continue to shine the light on that he's not Michael Jordan. When Michael Jordan set the record for most misses, nobody said anything.
Yeah, that's
not a thing.
The people in that top four of missed shots all the time are all first ballot Hall of Famers. You know, as Wayne Gretzky once said, you miss. Bryant took that advice.
Yes, he did.
Who is, by the way, leading the NBA in scoring right now.
Yes,
as well.
He is. And
at 38 years old, coming off Achilles and knee surgery, that's pretty darn impressive.
I tell you what, this just in: if you don't slow
and the Lakers are 1-6.
Old men down and those role players, here comes San Antonio again. But I am very impressed, even though it's early, that you go in there and beat the Clippers, and then on a back-to-back night when Golden State was resting, you go into the Bay Area and beat Golden State. So hats off to San Antonio.
All right, back to football. USC has come off the practice field, and today G.A. Mangus and Steve Spurrier Jr. Spoke with reporters, amongst others. Sean Elliott also talked, but we've got audio from Spurrier Jr. and Mangus. Let's hear from Mangus, USC quarterback coach, passing game coordinator. He was asked about Treon Harris, Florida's quarterback, and who he reminded him of.
Yeah, 14 ran around and did some things like him too. It seems like he's giving them some life and kind of some different dimensions and stuff, and be ready to go on Saturday. And yeah, he's good looking athlete.
How does Rory look, and what do you expect to get out of him?
He's had a great week of practice. He's been running around. Looks like he's, full speed and ready to roll. He's excited about getting back. I think there when you first find out and you kind of have a idea that maybe you're done for the year, and then all of a sudden it's not as bad as once thought, and he gets back in the game. I think he's pretty excited about that, as any of us would be. So he's had a great week of practice. 2 of his better days he's had.
Do you think he'll start?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how the next day or so goes. But, he's been getting full go here the last couple of days. So hopefully that'll last all week.
Can you guys take any gratification out of the crazy offensive numbers you've been able to put up this year?
I don't ever take any gratification unless we win the game.
Okay.
Never have, never will.
I guess the last 2 years ago, things didn't work out so well for the offense in Gainesville. You use that tape from 2 years ago. Bill played second half of that game.
He did. Sure. We always utilize the tape and everything, but that's a game just living proof. We've got to go down there and make sure we take care of the football and take care of it, especially early, and give ourselves a chance to win the game in the second half, which we didn't do 2 years ago.
Anything else, Coach?
All right, G.A. Mangus, after the Gamecocks practice, and Steve Spurrier Jr. also came over and talked to the media. And, of course, against Florida, he's going to be seeing one of the best defenses that the Gamecocks will have seen to this point in the season. They can really shut down the run, which means it's going to put a premium on the passing game, which means protecting Dylan Thompson is going to be of the utmost importance to the Gamecocks. And you have to be careful where you throw the football. Vernon Hargraves is outstanding at corner, and Spurrier Jr. noted that this afternoon.
I believe so. He's pretty dang talented. We talked about him the other day. We watched him covering Cooper from Alabama. We said those are 2 guys that are going to play this game for a while. He's talented, moves well, is quick, strong. You got to try to find out where he is, and when you can get away from him, a little bit.
Do they keep him in one place, or do you expect them to put him on? Do you expect them to put him on Pharaoh most of the day and just?
No, I don't think they'll do that all day. I think they'll mix up, keep going what they're doing. They got a good defense. They got a strong D line, and he's a talented player though, and we'll pick our spots with him. But I think we've got a pretty good plan. He can't cover everybody, hopefully.
Do you expect Pharaoh to get a ton of attention from the last 2 games he's had, not just from Vernon, but from their entire defense?
I don't know. Maybe not. I think they're going to do what they can to stop him, certainly. And we're going to try to mix him up and move him around a little bit, and hopefully he can continue to have a big impact on the game.
Kind of goes into the decision to start Shaq or Demir each week.
How they played the week before. Who had the most minuses? Who had the most pluses? Really, who just performed the best? And neither one of them have been great. Neither one of them have played as well as they're capable of playing. So, but I'm holding them to a pretty high standard. I think they're both pretty talented young men, and they need to play well. And they can play well. So hopefully these last few games they can show what they're made of and play to a high level.
Steve, how do you think this team has been able to maintain camaraderie between the offense and the defense?
It's a team sport. I've been around a lot of teams where the offense is good and defense is good, offense bad, special teams are. At the end of the day, we're all one team, and we all know that. You win together and you lose together. And some people get more attention than others, and certainly we've had a lot of that too. But at the end of the day, we're all together. We all got to go into the game together. We got to all come out together, and we know to win. We all got to play well all the time. So we keep driving on. We've had a lot of close games. Haven't gone all our way. We know that. But if we can get a few breaks, we still feel confident that we can play the game as a team.
If the Gators roll their coverage toward Pharaoh, as they're probably going to do, then
we're going to motion him to the other side.
Is it going to be up to Nick and some of the other guys to step up and start making some plays?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, certainly. If they're going to double team Pharaoh all day, we got to find somebody else to hit. If they're going to put 2 or 3 guys over there, we got to run the ball well too. We know that. So we got to find our spots. Dylan's got to look out there and know when he's got opportunities to get to Pharaoh and when he doesn't. And when he doesn't, we got to do something else with it. And we certainly will have a plan for that.
Your dad mentioned a week or so ago that Jeffrey deserved more playing time than what he did. Is he going to see him a little more?
You should see him some. He should certainly get a little opportunity to play. So we'll put him out there and let him run around. You'll definitely see him out there, as well as the other guys. They're all going to play, Demir, Shaq, and Shamir. And hopefully one can play better than the other. But if they all play about the same, they'll all 3 keep playing.
You guys showed the tape from 2 years ago down there. It was the first half nightmare for you guys.
Yeah, we watched that hour. We just keep watching it. Yeah. No, we haven't watched any of that. No, we watched a little bit of our last year tape. And even last year's tape was, their defense was strong. they were tough. We didn't move very far on them. We had 3 or 4 good plays in that game, it seemed like. We've watched mostly this year's stuff, some of last year's stuff, but hopefully we got a plan to go down there and play well.
How's the defense this year compared to the one last year?
It's pretty comparable. Some of the guys last year that played well last year that are back, and they're playing better than they did last year. So we certainly recognize those guys. They're short 1D tackles, so if they could lose about 3 or 4 more, it'd be nice. But yeah, no, they're a good team. They're pretty solid all around.
You happy overall with the decision to redshirt the 3?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And, guys talk about playing. It's hard to play. I mean, I look back at Alshon when he came in. It took him a few weeks to really gather what he's doing. He's, probably one of the best players ever played, or best receiver player. So those young guys are good players. They're going to be good players next year. But getting them through this year, getting them into the spring, winter conditioning, expect all 3 of those guys to be good players next year for us.
And last year, remember, John Carson rushed for 102 yards against the Gators.
Yeah, that big
defense
burst late from the shot of the goal line.
had a 58-yard run. Yeah. And they held Florida to like 300 yards.
Yeah, Florida was a mess. Mordenweg was doing their quarterbacking last year.
That's right. Yeah, they were down the roster a little bit there. We'll be right back. All right, if you want to join us, 800-956-7266 is the number. Your thoughts on things we have talked about tonight and the developments of the day. The big news story of the day, the decision of P.J. Dozier to sign with South Carolina, certainly means a great deal to the USC basketball program as Frank Martin tries to improve the talent level of his team. And, from all accounts, P.J. is indeed a true national level player as a point guard at 6'7", probably going to get to be about 6'9", and that should add a great deal of excitement to South Carolina basketball moving forward. And we were talking earlier, here in the city of Columbia, we've really got a very good high school basketball season shaping up. December 13th at night, after you go to the Touchstone Energy Bowl All-Star game, the North-South game, after you attend that, get over to Spring Valley High School, because Spring Valley plays host to Hammond, which will be Seventh Woods against P.J. Dozier. And, of course, there's other players involved as well. Listen, Spring Valley's a loaded team. They got the Bruner kid who I saw today. He's very thin. He is rail thin. And I was talking to somebody over there. He's 6'9", maybe 6'8", 6'9", but he's got that they want him to play inside, but he's got that perimeter mentality.
Right.
He's not a banger and bruiser inside.
He
He's
doesn't have
very
anything
thin.
to bang with.
Well, yeah, he wants to stand outside. He could be a shot blocker and a big time rebounder, but I don't think he will commit himself right now to doing that. Then they have a transfer in from Augusta, whose name I don't remember, but he's about 6'5", 6'6", so they should be very good. Had a chance. Oh, I don't think we mentioned this today. 30 years ago today, the Dozier twins committed to Bill Foster at South Carolina. And little Ray Jones, remember Ray Jones, the assistant coach?
Yeah, I remember little Ray Jones.
Ray Jones, all of about 5 feet tall, maybe 5'2", but he was their lead recruiter, and he was the one that got that done. I think he got most of it done up there with the Dozier twins. They also had who was the assistant coach who left and became a head coach, and then later had some health issues. Then did a lot of television. He went to Rutgers, but he was an assistant on Foster. Wetzel,
Bob Wenzel.
Bob Wenzel.
Wenzel,
Yeah. He may have had something to do with it too, because he had ties up there to the Northeast. What? Marquez Summer is the transfer. Okay, Marquez Summer. So anyway, this is the 30th anniversary of when they signed, and he commits on the same day.
That's why you always make sure, if you're a school, that you take care of your former players, that they're happy, that they appreciated their time, not only while they were there, but when they are gone, you bring them back and you treat them well, and you make sure that they have tickets. And it's something that USC had struggled with for a while. They have improved vastly under the Eric Hyman, Ray Tanner regimes in that. Well, and look, that you reap those benefits, not just in this case, but just in general. People are more apt to stick around.
And the Dozier twins were taught loyalty, because remember, they came in that Dunbar program in Baltimore when Bob Wade was there, and he was a real stickler for loyalty in the program.
All right, we've got Dabo Sweeney in the house after practice coming up next.
Guillermo has done well. He's definitely going to be able to play. Guillermo has done well. He's definitely going to be. Excited about working with you. Excited about working with you.
Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. All right, it's Malik Dunbar. Steak Man tells me now Malik Dunbar is a kid that has transferred to Spring Valley from Augusta, about 6'5" forward. So they'll be 6'5". They'll be 6'9" underneath. They'll be 6'7" on the point. That's pretty doggone good. Saw Terry Dozier there, too, the coach over at Westwood. And he looks good. And they just all had a good time, enjoyed being there and watching PJ do his thing. It was all handled with a great deal of professionalism and class. All right, now Clemson getting ready for Georgia Tech. Tigers practiced again today. A little while ago, Dabo Swinney came off the practice field to the media, and our conversation with the coach brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. All right, so going back to Dabo and the question about Jay Guillermo, how he's progressing in practice. Will he be available against Tech?
Guillermo, he's definitely going to be able to play. I would say that we're not expecting him to go in and start and play 70 snaps or anything like that. We're pretty confident with the five that are going to start the game, and hopefully they'll play well. And so that all that will dictate as far as how much Guillermo plays, but he's still not quite 100%, but he's able to play, and we'll play if we need it.
You figure on going back to battle, Beasley, Norton
and Webster, kind of how we finished the other night. I was proud of Norton. He's a competitor, and most competitors respond when things go their way, and that's I was really proud of how he responded. He kind of got sent to the sideline and he came back and played with a little different focus and a little different edge. And so hopefully we'll continue to see that from him because we need it. Well, he's going one-on-ones, scaling and team pass. He's done everything. And he's a little further along than Jay. He's a lot further along than Jay, but Jay's 300-plus pounds. But I think that Peak is definitely going to be, ready to roll.
Deshaun, all systems go.
Yeah, he's had a good week of practice. Really good week.
How have the young DBs that are going to have to fill in for Robert Smith done in practice this week?
They're doing good. We're mixing and matching those guys. It does help us having Corinne a little more available, giving us another guy, back there. So Corinne and Jadar and TJ, are the guys that have been filling in back there, and all of them have done a nice job. Jadar has cut out a little early tonight for a test, but I like what I'm seeing. We still got a lot of work to do. This is a bunch that, you prepare all the way up till kickoff with this group. So got a little work to do.
As far as guys like Zach Brooks, and how's his injury recovery going, and is he going to be ready for spring?
Yeah, he'll be ready for spring. Yeah, he's doing really well too. He's very good. He's really, his weight is good. He's good and he's working hard, doing everything that he possibly can to get back and get ready to roll. But yeah, he should be ready to go for spring ball.
Is Tyshawn ready for more than fourth quarter mop-up duty?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't really mop-up duty. It was just, when's the best time to put a guy in the game that hasn't taken a snap in a year and a half? And finding that time has been a little difficult the last couple of weeks. But we finally kind of got it worked out. And, he's a guy that I think is just going to continue to get better. He really needs a spring is really what he needs. He needs an off season. He needs a spring practice. That's really what he needs. But we just can't give him that right now. So we've got to make the best of where we are today and really, I think, get a lot of work done during bowl practice with him. He's just missed so much, but he's practiced well. And he's got to be ready to go. That's one thing I was talking to the team about tonight. If you're back up, I mean, you got to be ready to go. You got to be ready to play every snap because you just never know. And BJ was a little limited, so we're pretty thin there. So we need him to be prepared to have a big role for us. And wouldn't surprise me at all to see him get a little more time.
We've asked Deshaun about coming back to the news. That's Cole. How's he doing when he's in and out there? How has it been for Chad? I mean, this has obviously been the most challenging year he's had here.
He's done fine. I mean, that's just the way it is in the coaching business. I mean, it just all falls right in place and it fits perfectly. And you don't have a lot of injuries. And then some other years you're transitioning at different positions. You got youth or you have injuries. Well, that's just coaching. That's just the way it is. Nobody feels sorry for us. I mean, we've got a good team, and we're finding ways to win. I'm proud of the staff, and I'm proud of the guys for especially certain guys that have really stepped up and given us a lot and come through in a big way.
All right, Dabo Swinney, after the Tigers practice today, getting ready for Georgia Tech. We talked with the M&M boys about this matchup, and it's a tough one for Clemson because Georgia Tech runs the ball extremely well in their option offense. They can control clock. So the worst combination for Clemson in this game is going to be Georgia Tech converting third down and fourth down. You have to consider that pretty much they'll go for it on fourth down. And the key for Georgia Tech will be to keep the football and keep Clemson's offense, K-Mac, on the sideline, not let Deshaun Watson get out there and get into a rhythm and get this game sped up from a Clemson standpoint. If Georgia Tech is able to do that against this very good Clemson defense, then they're going to win the ball game.
Yeah, that's the thing about Georgia Tech. They have those clock-killing drives where they'll go 10, 12, 15 plays, score a touchdown, and you look up and 9 minutes are off the clock. And then if you go out there on offense and you go 3 and out and they have the ball right back and they put another one of those 10, 12 play drives together, a quarter's gone and you've had the ball once and you look up and you're down 14-0. That's what Georgia Tech does when they're playing. But conversely, if Georgia Tech doesn't score and you build that lead, then you take Georgia Tech and make a team that doesn't like to throw the ball have to do something they're not comfortable doing, which has become one-dimensional and pass the ball a little bit more than they'd like.
That's why when Dabo said the other day, well, he's good to go, we're going to turn him loose, that means Deshaun Watson is going to crank up the arm early, try to get a double-digit lead to put Georgia Tech out of their comfort zone. And you've got to have a double-digit lead because a one-score lead is not going to make it because Georgia Tech can pop or run up the middle for 50 yards for a touchdown before you can blink. So they can burn you as well via the run.
This is a junior-senior team at Georgia Tech, too. I mean, they've got seniors, redshirt seniors. It's an older team. So you can see how they have brought this team along through some tough times. They lost a really good quarterback a couple of years ago, and they were sort of in that quarterback wilderness there for a couple of years. And in this offense, if you don't have the right guy, they thought they had that guy and he left. He transferred out after last year and transferred to like North Carolina A&T. He was from Van Lee, I believe is his name. He was from Durham, and he was young, and they thought he was going to be the guy for the next 2-3 years, and had a good year going last year, but then he left after last season, and they've got this Thomas kid in there now, and he has just been terrific. He's a good thrower. Justin Thomas, career yards rushing, coming up on 800 yards this year rushing, and then what they do when they get close to the goal line, they stick Tim Byerly in there. He's the backup quarterback, but he's 212 pounds. So he is a load. So they put the bulldozer in there. They take Thomas out. Yeah, and they take Thomas out. He's 189 pounds. They put Byerly in there, and he's like another fullback in that offense.
I don't know how good Georgia Tech is. I mean, they've lost to Duke in North Carolina, though we know Duke's a pretty good team. They're probably going to win that division.
Is it about time we start giving Duke a little bit of respect?
Definitely. I mean, if their coach Cutcliffe, if he's 15 years younger, he's probably the #1 coaching commodity in America. But for whatever reason, we, treat old people like they're decrepit now, even though they can't.
But
I mean,
Duke is the best.
He's a great.
For him.
I mean, Corn, despite the fact that you're old and decrepit, I mean, you're still functioning. You're dangerous behind the wheel, but you're still functioning.
Don't bring up age around pro. That's a dangerous thing. right, we heard from Dabo Swinney and how the Tigers practiced today and getting ready for Georgia Tech. He'll be facing veteran coach Paul Johnson, who was under some heat there for a couple years in Atlanta, but he's turned it around this year in a big way. 8-2, a chance to win the division on the coastal side in the ACC. Still needs a little bit of help because Duke is right now sitting in the driver's seat, but if they don't win the division, they can certainly play their way into a really good bowl game. He's got the offense churning and the defense is improved. And here is Paul Johnson talking about first his team coming off another good win on the road last week at NC State, and then now getting ready for Clemson.
Proud of the way the guys played last Saturday on the road. I think anytime you go on the road in the league and win a game, it's a big deal. And we certainly got contributions out of all three phases of the team. With that behind us this week, we've got a tremendous challenge with a team that's just loaded with 4 and 5 star players from whatever, the number one defense, total defense in the country, number one in third down defense. Offensively, they get their freshman phenom quarterback back, and I'm sure that they're excited about that. So it'll be a huge challenge for us. We're looking forward to the game. I think it's by quirk of the schedule, we had to go there 2 years in a row, and we're excited to have a chance to play them here in Atlanta. So hopefully we can be competitive.
What kind of challenge will Beasley be for your offensive line?
Well, I think the key against them is try to stay out of third and long. I mean, if you get third, anybody really, if you get third and long, but they've got some great pass rushers. He's certainly one of them. But they've got probably 6 or 7 guys up there that are really talented players on the defensive front. So it's a veteran team. I think I counted on their 2 deep. They had 8 of the 11 were either seniors or grad students. So you couple that with being pretty good players, that's a pretty good recipe to be pretty good. And they are. I mean, they've played really good. You take away the first game, the second half, and really the fourth quarter, where they gave up a bunch of big runs against Georgia. Other than that, they've been really stout all year against everybody.
To go back to third and long, I was looking at the numbers last week, and Justin actually seems like he does better, at least numbers-wise, passer rating-wise on third and long than he does overall. I'm curious to what you would attribute that.
I don't know, probably lack of sample size. We've been pretty good on third down. I mean, that's the one thing I know that I'm try to set a pretty high standard over there on offense and try to hold the guys to it. But, I mean, we're just a whisker under 60% on third down. That's probably close to records if we could finish the year that way. I mean, that's, 50 will get you in the top 10. And 60 probably leads the country by 2 or 3 percentage points, I would think.
Sorry to make you repeat what I'm sure you were asked about after practice yesterday, but can you talk about having Zach back and what that means now for your running game?
Yeah, well, I think it's good anytime that you get a player of Zach's quality back, and competition's great. I thought St. John played very well while he was, the starter, and my take is that St. John's at least earned the starting role with his performance the last 3 weeks, and we're going to play them both, and then we'll kind of go off the field and who's got the hot hand, and each of them bring their own unique advantages over the other guy to the game, and kind of play them by what we need. But Zach was playing well when he got hurt, so they're both going to play. It's good to have 2 guys in there that you can play. Matt Connors played well too.
This game, you're closing your regular season conference schedule. You're a close second in the division, and can you talk about how your team responded to some midseason adversity?
Well, you'd always like to have the games back you lost. We played particularly poorly offensively against Duke. I think you got to give them some credit, but that's probably the worst game we played. Couldn't get it done at Carolina. But after that, we moved on and kind of handled what we can handle, and that's all you can do. And as I've told the team this week, we got a huge challenge, but it's our last game. If we could find a way to win the game, we'd finish 6-2, and the team in front of us has 3 games left. So I think they've got 3 games left. Miami's not out of this thing in my mind by a long stretch. So I think they've got a couple of games left in the league. And in fact, if they win, I think they'll probably have the tiebreakers on the way tie. So I think it's long from being over.
Paul Johnson, terrific coach, had a lot of success everywhere he's been. Georgia Southern, Navy, and now at Georgia Tech. And this is going to be a heck of a ball game,
Mr. Haney,
in Atlanta. Yeah, it's going to be a real. They may drag Clemson into one of those backyard brawl kind of games, and we'll see how the Tigers respond. All right, coming up on the end of another edition of Sports Talk, we have certainly enjoyed bringing everything to you tonight. And tomorrow night, we'll have coverage of the Tevin Mack news conference. You can follow us on Twitter at Sports Talk SC. We'll be there at the Dreer Auditorium. Following that, that'll begin around noon tomorrow. And, the sentiment seems to be he's going to leave the state, but I don't discount anything. I don't know if the P.J. Dozier commitment influenced him in any way towards South Carolina. I don't know if Brad Brownell or one of the assistants talked to him today and got him thinking more their way, or maybe his mind was made up for VCU. VCU, Shaka Smart and that staff, they have really been on him hard. They came in with the entire staff to visit with Tevin and his mother on Twitter. Their Twitter nuts have been all over his site and trying to encouraging him to go to VCU. Of course, there's UConn, the defending national champion. So we'll see what happens. That'll be another intriguing basketball announcement tomorrow at noon. We'll cover it for you then and on the program tomorrow night. Also tomorrow night, Lee Sterling, our Sterling picks, and more from USC and Clemson football. We'll hear from the defensive coordinators. Brent Venables has the task of figuring out how to stop Georgia Tech, and Lorenzo Ward has the task of figuring out how to stop the bleeding, the hemorrhaging.
Yes.
And maybe the week off, maybe simplifying things, maybe getting some people healthy, maybe facing an offense that may not overwhelm them. I know Treon Harris Had a good game against Vanderbilt and impressed against Georgia, but he is a freshman. And maybe you can just, make him – I know he threw for a lot of yards against Vandy, but that was Vandy. If you're South Carolina, maybe you just pick your poison, put 6 and 7 up there, dare them to throw the ball against you, and see if you can put some pressure on him and keep him contained.
Well, I think probably one of the advantages South Carolina could have had is if this game happened immediately after the Georgia game, when you catch them, maybe on a down cycle after having such a big victory, because they had to shake off the cobwebs against Vandy up in but I think probably, Corn, again, as I said before, the one thing I noticed about Auburn, and their defense is just as bad, is the fact that I think Auburn's defense has a pretty good grasp on amnesia, whereas South Carolina, as soon as somebody busts a big play, they just hang their heads and then they just exacerbate the situation. I think you got to have the short memory. Okay, they're going to get some yards, but let's stop them on this play. And they have not had that mentality in the last few weeks.
All right, Will Muschamp just talking to the media in Gainesville. I'm just checking to see if there's anything big coming out of his comments. He did say the Gators are more charged up with Treon Harris in the game. And he says Harris has given them a spark and has raised the confidence of everyone around him. Now, that can happen sometimes when you find that guy who just makes good things happen for your offense. Well, have a great night. Thank you, State Man, Pro, K-Mac. And we'll see you back here on Sports Talk tomorrow night.